Julian is hiding in a bush and speaking praise upon each little pixie which doth pass before the bush. And they come to love this bush, and they've started bringing it berries.
Cut to two lovers speaking hushedly in the trophy room that they always meet in, and hearing a loud noise and realizing that they need to find a new location to hide because this one is unsafe. Julian, this is a scene in which a bagpipe player has gotten kicked out of the local tavern for playing too loudly and has drunkenly decided to wander off with an annoyed monologue.
Cut to the queen in her chambers, belittling and screaming at her advisor for her advisor makes her hold her tongue in every single royal meeting that she has, and she just wishes that she could speak freely.
Hello, and welcome to another episode of Muprov Musings. This is episode number 24. I'm one of your hosts, Hal Munger, and joining me now on the line is your other host, Julian Bernardo.
Hello, everybody. We're coming at you live from snowy Michigan. No, you know this isn't live. We are coming at you with something very beautiful this episode. We have a guest on who we have never had on before. One of the wonderful people that Hal and I improvised with in college. I will allow you to post any other adjectives upon yourself. Welcome to the podcast, John.
I'm happy to be here.
Thank you. Happy.
His other posted adjective. John and I actually met, and our first time doing an improv show together was improvised Shakespeare. Both of us were taking Lisa Rowland's intermediate improv course, and our final show was a Shakespearean show. So John's teeth were cut in the world of William Shakespeare, and he lives and breathes it. Improvised William Shakespeare, that is. And
I'll even zoom out. I think John has some huge impacts on the whole Muprov legacy via your format, the Lumiere, that you originated, John. A lot of the physical things that we talk about and that we did in a new play came from that format in its inception.
Yeah, I liked I guess hearing you and Kaylin talk about that on the show. It's nice to get the shout out. Yeah, I guess Lumiere. It's been discussed. Yeah, it's been discussed at some length. It came out of I wanted to turn this spooky Halloween indie roguelike card game called Inscription into an improv format. And I will try again at that someday, but that eventually became the Lumiere.
And how did the Lumiere work? Just for anyone who hasn't listened to the Kaylin episode.
So the Lumiere, the premise was do a narrative long form show, but to the extent that you can endow objects and sort of structures and setting pieces with life, like the ability to sort of move and speak and have some agency. Yeah, but Kaylin was always particularly good at it, so I'm glad she was one to share about it on the show.
This is frivolous, but do you remember the original name that you submitted for the Lumiere?
So before it was the Lumiere, for brevity, it was Lumiere's Mansion to sort of evoke. I mean, Lumiere is an allusion to specifically the character in Beauty and the Beast, like the living candlestick. So that's, I guess that maybe. So Lumiere's Mansion was like, it's the whole house. It's all the stuff going on in there. Before that, no. Do you have it?
I think I remember it. I don't have it.
Okay, please.
I think it was Lumiere's Mansion, Alice in Blunderland Rebirth, maybe with those reordered in some way. But I thought that was a wonderful name for a format.
Yeah, and John has been tinkering and format creating also for the whole time that I've known him. In that class, John invented several formats to try to pitch, and one of them was something called the accordion, in which there are four scenes going on at once that are all sort of in related worlds. And there are four players on stage who are not in the scenes, but are simply dividing the stage into four segments. So if two of those players get really close to each other, that segment is closed and you do not see the scene. So usually there's one segment open at a time in between two players, but sometimes you can open two segments at a time and then there are two scenes going at once. And if all four players stand equidistant from each other, then all four scenes go on at once. So that was a crazy. John's a tinker, and it's going to be really fun to have him on for this narrative episode, which is a counterpart. If you listen to the Anna W episode in Hero's Journey, this is the same thing the same thing we did then is going to be done now. Julian, do you have any words of wisdom about the Giga story spine?
Yeah, I think let's just talk through what it is in brief, which is we're gonna essentially talk through a show. Each person is gonna describe one scene. We might riff a little bit if we want to add some more details together for each scene, but we're gonna do it from this kind of slow, measured place where we are talking through all the scenes, but we can talk to each other in between. And one of the things that I really like about doing this is it gives you all a look into what our thought process is when we're, actually putting on this narrative show. We can try very hard to come up with the rules of Muprov and try to convey that to you. But when it comes down to it, I think one of the clearest things is just that you hear the way that we're thinking and the way that we're imagining these hits.
And the last time we did this, we went through a whole explanation of the story spine that we do in a traditional way for understanding narrative. You can go back to that episode if you want to listen to it. But there is a concept I want to repeat from last time, which is this idea of thinking about narrative structures and what to do next in a way that is very similar to the game Go, if you've ever played it, and applying some of those concepts to our thing. And the concept being here that after every scene, there are usually a couple moves that are reasonable of there are these sort of logical paths and you can follow any of these. And obviously it's not the whole scene, but we might cut to these people. We might cut to these people. We might follow the protagonist along. We might introduce a villain, etc. And then that there is a whole nother patch of moves that are not super reasonable, that you legally are allowed to make, and that you still might win the game if you make, but that aren't intuitively following any heuristic. And the two concepts that were introduced last time were this idea of Tawari, which is a heuristic for analyzing whether or not you made a good sequence of moves in Go. And that is basically, if you made the moves in a different order, would they still seem like good moves? Then there's this concept of Tsuji, which is the local, all-star, impossibly divine, awesome move. Yeah. And the third one, this is going to sound like I'm making this up because they all start with T and end with I. But the one I'm introducing today for the context that is relevant to Shakespeare and not so relevant to Hero's Journey is the Go concept of Tenuki, which is playing away from the local situation. So if you've never played Go and you have played chess, you could imagine trying to play a game of chess where you are playing on 4 boards at once. And on each of your turns, you can make one move on any of those 4 boards. There are some situations where your piece has just been captured and you need to capture back, and you would immediately address and play multiple moves on the same board. But sometimes that board might grow static and you might decide to play on another board and move away. Similar thing in Go. The board in Go is so big that you get into these local fights where the local best move might seem like some sort of Tsuji, but sometimes somewhere else on the board as the fight goes on eventually becomes worth more points, and you play away from that fight. And you start having another fight on the other side, and eventually you're hoping to come back and play that local best move. But first you need to address and sort of develop all 4 segments at the same time and have them grow. So hopefully what we're going to be talking about today is when to cut away from a scene to a different place, and when choosing to cut away, which of your existing threads in your Shakespeare show are the sort of most valuable ones to cut to. That was a lot, but for our Go playing audience, it should be helpful. And for everyone else, bear with.
Yeah. Are we feeling good? Are we feeling like we want to start this wonderful little show we're gonna talk through?
Let's do it.
Let's do it. All right, we've texted out for some suggestions, and to start the show, we're going to do 3 branches. So we're going to do 3 separate scenes that might be the start of a show, just to give you an idea of how John, Julian, and I think differently about starting a show. All right, John, have you gotten any of your suggestions back?
All right, I got one.
Ooh.
What you got?
2 monks with a sword.
2 monks with a sword.
2 monks with a sword.
Yes.
Yes. Does anyone want to be the first branch?
I will be the first branch. Lights up. We see a young boy running around in the monastery, bringing a basket from one monk to the other. The young boy starts walking next to one of his friends as he's bringing this basket. Who his friend is also here working in the monastery, and the boy laments their relatively boring life in the monastery and wishes to be chosen next time there is a journey to go into the town for some more supplies.
I can go next. I don't know why, but I have the just the image of like a sullen, curmudgeonly gatekeeper sitting perhaps at a desk or standing, and supplicants come and ask for the favor of the monastery. Can we have some food? Perhaps can we have some of your beer? And this curmudgeon just turns each away with a curt word, perhaps a diss. To each of the arriving beggars.
Awesome. Mine was that someone's coming to a monk for some sort of advice and asking how they follow this path, and the monk explains, like, it's partly chance. I had a twin sibling who totally diverted and went down a different path and moved to a far off land and lives in a way that's very different from a monk in an extreme way. We've been separated and have not crossed paths since. So just chance could switch your life's journey. All right. Yeah.
How in the one that you just said, who was the person talking to the monk, and was the monk telling this to that person, or?
Yeah, I think it was someone who was seeking advice would be the ideal thing. Maybe actually a relevant character. Let's say someone who is questioning whether or not they're really fit for the monastery because their heart is full of love. Sure. So they're like, I don't know if I could spend my life unwed. And what was everyone's thought behind how did those branches pop into your mind off of the suggestion?
For me, I heard monks, and I just took that as a setting location, or a location suggestion rather. And I it was my intuition that like maybe like monks as some of our main characters won't be as fun. It seems like they live relatively like, maybe quiet lives. So I wanted to have some people who were at the monastery, but maybe weren't all in on the monk lifestyle.
Yeah, I wanted, I guess, the monastery too. It just seems like a straightforward place to start. If you need to get on stage, I think the gatekeeper is sort of a fun, like, I don't know if that's like fourth wall breaking, but like starting your show with a door, and the door is closed, and then the door opens, or you go somewhere else before the door opens, is like maybe kind of fun. Also, yeah, like we have to get out of the monastery, so let's just throw someone we don't like as like our first image of the monastery, and then you can use that as like a repulsor if you want. I don't know. This is a lot of this is justified after the fact. I think I really just wanted an old curmudgeon sitting outside of a monastery.
But endowing a door implicitly endows people on the other side of the door. Like if you begin there and the whole rest of the show takes place in the monastery, it's going to feel a little strange, and it gives you an out. Then you can have your next scenes be in the monastery, and that at some point someone's going to come through the door and mess around with everything. For me, I heard the word two monks, and I was like, oh, twins.
Yeah, I liked your guys' opening scenes because we like endowed some characters, some personality. I thought that was a good thing about both of your opening scenes, and I would be happy to follow either of those branches.
Or we could cleave all three. Yeah, John, go.
I like Hal's. I think Hal's is the most Shakespeare. Like,
let's do Hal's.
Yeah. All right, can we have the gate though actually as well?
Sure, there can be. I mean, the monastery's got a gate.
Yeah, I think it's an interesting thing that will actually serve us well for the show. So if the first scene of the show is a gatekeeper turning people away from the monastery, and can we give the gatekeeper a name?
Scrimblow.
What?
I had to Tonk,
and I had Scrimblow.
Do we want
I like Scrimblow.
Okay, with Scrimblow. Okay.
Yeah.
And who are they turning away?
I had them turning away people that were coming to the monastery to ask for small goods. Yeah, these are people that are not. Go ahead.
Likable people, or like are they poor people who need it, or are they just random?
No, these are people for which I, as a player in the audience, have sympathy. Like forces outside of the monastery have rendered it difficult to survive in the environs, and the monastery is the place associated with goodwill and love. And for whatever reason, they've got this jerk out front who doesn't want to help anybody. Yeah.
Cool. So we got that gate scene, and then Hal, we have twins, one of whom is a monk, one of whom chose a different life path, ?
Yeah. And I think the different life path is one of like partying in excess somewhere else. And I think the question you asked me about getting that lover in there, or like, is the person getting advice is useful? I think in having them already have a love of someone that they're in love with. Would you guys think that love should love them back or not?
I mean, if you want, they can be like, oh, we would be wed, except you want to be a monk.
Oh, boom. Perfect. So love arrows pointing at each other, but trying to decide whether to be a monk or to get married. And who is that person who maybe is the protagonist of the show?
Felonio.
So we have Scrimbulus is the
Scrimblow.
Scrimblow, Felonio. What is the monk's name?
Arthur.
I think it would be fun if they were female as well, actually. I know that we're just to get in that practice.
Yeah.
Whitney.
All right. Whitney. Okay.
Yeah.
Whitney, Scrimblow,
and Felonio.
Okay. Perfect. All right, Julian, because your branch was not as pruned, you're going to pick the next branch.
Cool. My immediate hit for where we go next is to see a very raucous scene with the monk sibling, but clearly in a very different place. So this is probably within the city, and the monk sibling, who I will endow the name of Claudia, is talking is getting talked down from doing some like very like wild like dance move or drinking a very like strong alcohol by her friend Rita, who is it was constantly like reeling in Claudia.
Can we have them physically like they're actually tied to each other? Like this is like a thing they have to do at parties. Is like Rita ties herself with a rope, and Claudia gets like 30 yards.
Yeah,
people are tripping over it. Yeah,
that could be a fun endowment. I like it.
in the scene she gets talked down from doing the dance move, or she does the dance move?
Ooh, yeah, that's the crux of it. I think she does the dance move, and it is, embarrassing for her. Or
Like,
Rita was right.
Breaks the oh, and this is super relevant actually, because we're ideally trying to get these two people to the same place eventually. So similar to how in a hero's journey, often if your worldview fits the world, there needs to be something that gets you kicked out of the world. If you remember our last show with the little vampire boy destroying the party, this can be a similar thing of like, you're on your last legs. Don't embarrass us at this, courtly ball again. And then, she shatters the king's vase or the king's chandelier or whatever.
I think it might be a fun little, if we're info dumping in the scene, to endow there to be like a people's watch. Like Rita tells Claudia, like, the people's watch is this close to like banishing you from the town. So you have to be chill.
And if we're also info dumping, I think it would be fun if she is insistent on being unwed and maintaining this lifestyle. Yeah. Just so that we know that she is available, and similar to her monk sister has not decided to eschew marriage.
Yeah.
This came to me after I said the thing about the rope, but I want to offer that it would be totally reasonable for Whitney to also have a rope tied around her waist holding her clothes together. And if Rita and Claudia ever get cut, Rita can eventually find Whitney with the rope tied around.
Yeah.
So this is what this is like a Tsuji setup, except this may not happen ever, but the next time that you're playing Whitney, just mention that you have a rope belt or whatnot. That is very funny. Okay. And this is the moment where now we've sort of set up these different branches. We have potentially these two twin monks, this lover, this friend, a side lover, and a gatekeeper who seems like maybe some form of comic relief. The sort of branches that we're missing, obviously, are Filonio's love. We haven't been introduced to yet. And potentially other people of the monastery or poor people in the town or this ruler who may be doing. Those are the kind of places that are missing. And then we could also go back to a branch that we've already alighted upon. So which feels like the place in most need of action or trimming or developing if we're still in our platform segment?
Definitely the Filonio.
Houndopi.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And do you want to see Filonio with the love or just the love without Filonio?
Let's see them together.
That was my hit as well. Sweet. So you kind of see how they're sometimes right things that feel like kind of the right move of like, this place has not been watered in a while. We need to see this character soon. And why together? Julian, was that your hit as well?
I didn't codify what my hit would be, but I think probably seeing them together is good. Because we got that Filonio is like questioning in the first scene, and so having a scene where he's just like super into her, I think like makes us want that relationship to happen.
Okay, well, it's John's turn to branch. When these are together, what do we learn about these characters? What's the dynamic of the relationship? What's her or his deal? What's this lover's deal? And how is it expressed in the scene? Where are they meeting? What's going on?
Yeah, I think it's a garden. I think Filonio is already kind of a meticulous individual, and he, this is sort of how Thelonio's partner sort of was wooed. Was they came to Thelonio's garden and sort of saw, the well maintained, I guess, just the work of focus and competence. Thelonio, of course, is also very hot, I guess. What are they doing? They're in the garden. and they're exchanging little poems that they write for each other in the garden, as they do, every day, full moon, fortnight. You can go. They're in love. It's every night they do this. And then, at the end of one of the poems, Thelonio confesses that he has been to the monastery. And the lover, Cassandra, and she wants to be wed, like within the week, if possible.
Yeah, she definitely
needs more time.
She's been wooing him. It sounds like she's been coming to the garden, so having her.
Yeah, she's been wooing him. There's been some woo.
And he is somehow works in the monastery, right? Or is in some way training to, like, was expecting to become a monk and was gardening there, and now is being tempted off of that monkly path by this.
So he's a monk.
Or like, a monk to be. He hasn't sworn his monkly vow.
Okay, I see. Yes. Okay, yeah.
And there can be some fun dramatic irony also in these scenes if we want to, where one person is reading aloud a poem of love and like every other line is turning out and being like, that is true, but I'm racked with my monastery desires.
I was thinking a fun little linguistic game we could have in this scene is I need to land on what the metaphor is, but like a dueling metaphor style thing between the two of them, where it's the space for Thelonio to air his concerns about, like, but the rose that you believe to be so beautiful must one day wilt some petals, and then she's like, but aren't the most beautiful roses everlasting, yada yada yada.
And also Cassandra, I think, should be from the court and like the party scene, even if that's not mentioned in the scene, we should just be like vaguely aware that she will know, and maybe have not met the monk who's in charge of the abbey, but she will know Claudia, but not Whitney, probably.
I had a hit earlier that Rita was Thelonio's love, but I dropped it. I don't know why. I thought it was maybe too tight, like not enough characters. But maybe that's fine.
I also had that. I had that exact same thought.
I had the same hit too. And then none of us spoke this hit that we all had. We can merge them still, but
I think it's good to have them separate.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think that it will make more confusion come up in the plots and plans, which is where we are now, right? We're about to enter into plots and plans. Pretty much everyone has been platformed.
Yeah. My only question is does Whitney have a deal right now, or is she just content doing her monthly business?
I don't know.
I think it's fine for one of our main characters to be content and then just get thrust into it. Well, if there's I
have a stupid hit.
Yeah.
Let's have her receive a letter from a doctor that's addressed to somebody else, telling them to like make preparations for their demise, and she decides that she is dying soon. And so she starts to question living out her final, weeks of her life away from her sister. She wants to be reunited, perhaps.
That's great. That's
crazy.
Yeah, totally.
I think that she should not act on the wish to be reunited. Like she should have that internal lament without the external lament, because that way when they actually are, but I think if she actually summons her, then that'll make everything too clear.
Yeah, so soliloquy style, like, God, I lay on my dying door without even having discussed a word with my sister in the past 20 years, yada yada yada. So, but just freaking out internally about this, maybe because she needs to be a strong monk leader or whatever.
Yes,
and maybe Scrimblow delivers the letter.
Maybe the letter's for Scrimblow. Poor guy. No, we can't just kill Scrimblow.
Yeah. And I think also it would be good if the monastery was under some financial duress, and that was part of why they were turning away everybody.
Sure, that gives
Yeah.
Just putting a little more pressure
Yeah.
on it.
Yeah, let's add that little.
So we have this my sister's dying scene, and then I think my branch that I will propose extending is cutting over to Claudia, because I think it's nice if these Whitney Claudia scenes complement each other, and I think Claudia should be under extreme financial duress, both from her partying lifestyle and from just having destroyed the king's, chandelier or whatever. And I think that the People's Guard should be like knocking at her door, and there should be a comedic scene in which they smuggle Claudia out the window while her friend has to talk to the people. Rita has to talk to the People's Guard and explain why Claudia is not there while she slowly escapes at the back. And I think right before they open the door to the People's Guard, there should be a whispered conversation of like, where will I hide? The People's Guard goes everywhere. And then one of them says, well, the monastery is, think you this, disguise yourself and put on the gown of, thou has a twin, put on the gown of thy sibling and that conceal themselves there, but do not tell your sibling that they're there, because they're very pious and will turn you in. So
cool. So the delineation isn't super important here, but I would say last scene was the last platform scene maybe, and this is the first plots and plans scene.
This is the first plots and plans scene of, and I think it intentionally going to the same location of I'm going there, but hoping not to reveal myself to my, maybe
why do they know? Why does she know Whitney's there? I'd assume they didn't know where each other were. Like, this is
right. Okay. We can have a beautiful Parent Trap moment. It's easier to not just, or like, I think it would be easier to justify like her disguising herself in some way. Just like, in all of my ventures, many a time have I disgraced and spoken ill of monks, and so I shall disguise myself. But
so in that case, why don't you flee thee to the monastery, because they won't look for you there, but she doesn't know that her sister is there.
Yeah.
And how she gets out is she climbs out the window, being lowered down by the rope. And when she hits the ground, she cuts the rope. And now she has a short length of rope tied around her waist.
Yes.
Okay, perfect.
Vital move.
We can also see the scene where the guards are like, where be sure we know she'd be in this house, and it's like, nation be not here. What be that rope?
And the guards follow the rope and to the end of it, and it's just a rope. Yeah, I don't know.
Cool. I think the next person who's got to be scheming is Cassandra. I'll just throw out my branch there, which is, I think Cassandra must try to enact some like lightly unsavory, but maybe well-intentioned scheme to get Felonio maybe banned from the monkhood. If you got any ideas to riff on that come in right now.
The thought that I have, it'd be early for plots and plans, but I'm thinking about Hal's go ideas, and I think that could have been a fine first scene for the whole show too. Is like, she confides in her best friend, I need to get my, love to leave this monastery. Yes, I think that's probably quite a good scene.
My basic hit is we haven't watered this gatekeeper in a while, and it's possible that a way that you could be barred from the monastery is by letting people through the gate or something like that. So it's just saying like, at some point he will have his gately duties and I will, disguise myself. Something like that, where she's like, I'll disguise myself and go to the gatekeeper and let someone through who seems like they're going to cause trouble or something like that.
Yeah, I mean, go.
Yeah, and then it's Whitney, or no, it's Claudia. I don't know.
Yeah.
Like, you don't look like a monk. No, I am. Trust me. Okay, fine. You can come in. And I don't know. Maybe not.
Because she also doesn't know what the monastery leader looks like anyway.
Right.
Yeah. Wait. So, but let's get clear here. What is Cassandra's plan?
She's gonna dress as Claudio. As Felonio, and go
and do gate watch.
Do gate watch.
Felonio. Okay.
Gate watch as Felonio.
Wait, so now we have like Whitney and Claudia like sort of dressed as each other. So like the People's Guard can find Whitney. and
Yeah.
and Rita can find, or like, and Felonio or Scriblo or something can find Claudia.
Yeah.
And then we're gonna have Cassandra dressed as Felonio.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there's some
Okay.
obvious like connections that we want to. I definitely want to see Felonio going to Cassandra for advice and being like, "What should I live my?"
Oh yeah, no, totally.
my plan.
Cool.
But
So we got that plot going.
in fact, for the dying sister, it might be awesome to have her say, "I'm going out into the world to look for my sister because I regret this." So that she's on the outside of the monastery getting like beat up by the guards.
Yeah. Getting her out of the monastery in general is good.
Let's have her sneak out so that nobody knows she's gone.
Yeah.
Okay. So she's out of there. Cassandra, I messed that up earlier, but Cassandra is pretending to be the guard. And
Cassandra is pretending to be Scriblo.
Cassandra's pretending to be she's pretending to be Philomo and taking over Felonio and taking over Scriblo.
Yep.
All right, we're locked in.
Cool.
And is there anything else that should happen before this gate scene? Because it feels like there almost needs to be one scene of padding here before.
Yeah, it's not a nice like tension thing if we just see that immediately. So we could get Felonio again, but it's hitting on the same like pair. And I kind of want to see Felonio next in some misunderstanding.
We could have like a troll scene with the People's Guard.
Yeah, let's do it.
But as a comedic like clowning thing. Let's
That's
have
perfect.
this padding scene with the People's Guard. And probably if we're just thinking improv wise, like a lot of people who are in this scene, or like this might have like everybody in the scene. And there might be a couple main People Guard people who will like, be the emissaries in the future, but this scene can be big and have everybody in it.
I had a related idea for the game of the scene, which is that they're just like, each guard is like piping up, like, "No, I heard that she, was 7 foot tall, and her feet were enormous, and there was a wet slapping sound when she walked places." And there was, "Oh, I heard she was all small, and she would crawl around everywhere, and her hair was bright red." And it's like,
that's a fun game.
In that case, I think there should be one leader of the People's Guard who's like more serious than all of the other people, who's getting frustrated, and maybe also will become a relevant character over the course of the show.
Agreed.
Boom.
Now we get the gate scene.
Scriblo is there, and from behind Scriblo bent over his papers, writing, "No, as the sort of the supplicants approach, and Felonio will approach from behind, and Cassandra dressed as Felonio will approach from behind, and she will do a very convincing deep voice, and Scriblo will not look up from the papers, and so Scriblo will not realize that this is not Felonio. Scriblo will exchange words with the voice of Felonio, and then get up to rest back within the monastery. We'll open the big gate door and close it behind him, and then Cassandra dressed as Felonio will take the place at the seat in front of the line, and then the next person in line will be Claudia. And Claudia will approach, and Cassandra, this will be the last time that we see Claudia without people thinking that she's Whitney. I think Cassandra Felonio will just like hear her out and let her in.
I think it would be funny for Cassandra and Claudia to be like kind of on the same page, where Cassandra or Claudia is like talking about maybe being like a little bit earnest about like the wills of the world and how like the world and the rules are stopping her from having fun. While disguised as Felonio, Cassandra like agrees with this heartily and lets her in.
Yeah, I think that they should both be kind of pretending they know what being a monk is like.
Yeah.
So she's like, "Why do you want to be a monk?" And it's like, because I think people should be able to do whatever they want and get married. We're on. And I think in that way, maybe giving her the monk clothing.
Yeah.
Like, welcome to the order or whatever.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. We can even put a name to the whole rope thing that we've identified, but the audience probably has not yet. I see you already have your monkly rope.
The John, I don't know where your brain comes up with this kind of.
I feel like I'm picturing it. I feel like I'm picturing someone wearing like a robe, and it's bound. Like when you wear like a bathrobe, it's got like a tie.
I know, but I meant the first concept of them being tied together at the waist.
That was totally just from nowhere. But after the fact, I was like, wait, rope, we got monks. That was not planned.
That's funny.
You said somebody said reeling them in, and I just wanted to physically reel them in. Yeah.
Okay, so where is everybody real fast? Rita is outside the monastery. Guard is outside the monastery. Whitney has just maybe snuck outside of the monastery as well.
Mm-hmm.
So those three are outside, inside the monastery now, and at the gate, Scrimblow and Phil. I don't know why I have so much trouble with Felonio are both at the gate. Sorry, Cassandra is at the gate. Felonio and the new sister are both inside.
Claudia.
So that's an obvious pairing that is going to see each other probably.
Yeah.
The real
Felonio.
The real Claudia and the real Claudia are probably going to see each other. The
real Felonio and the real Claudia, which is to say the fake Whitney.
And then at the gate, we just saw the gate scene. So the question is whether we go in or out of the monastery, probably. And out, we could see the People's Guard bumping into People's Guard bumping into Whitney. Which one does those things seems like it needs more trimming?
Well, I'll even throw out Whitney can first run into like Rita instead.
Mm-hmm.
Because does Rita know that Whitney exists, or will that be another mistaken identity?
No. Rita will think that it's.
And to throw into that potential branch, we could have the thing of it be like Rita is extremely joyous at how much Whitney has changed after coming out of the monastery, like or that Claudia has changed. Because Whitney can be talking about like, my time on this earth is limited. I need to make my peace. I need to, change the way that I've been so far. And Rita is overjoyed at this new leaf.
And I think that early on in that scene, there should be some physical comedy where, the People's Guard is walking along. Whitney is spotted almost at the same time by the People's Guard and Rita somehow protects her from the People's Guard by like pushing her into a barrel and getting her hit a bunch of times in the head or like whatever. So she comes out all disoriented, like, what just happened? And she's like, and she's like,
it's a beautiful story.
And she also thinks that, she's regretting having sinned. And she's like, those people are coming after, they go after people who destroy things like you did. And she's totally repentant.
And Rita can feed into Whitney's like existentialism right now, where Rita is very literally being like, they're coming after you, and Whitney is taking this like metaphorically of like, oh yes, the demons do be coming after me, and for my time on this earth be limited.
So she repents and also wants to make right, maybe by directly going to talk to the king or something like that.
Yeah,
or attending another party and being honorable
And part of me thinks that we need not invoke a higher order of like status, and that the People's Guard emissary can be the highest status person.
Okay, but there is this. I feel like there's a world in which this is another like way down the line. one way to resolve all of the issues in the plot would be if she somehow falls in love with the king or duke, or I know that she is currently the head of that, or at the very least, if those two somehow have some sort of like endowing someone with the wealth to figure out the plot, I think is worthwhile.
I mean, it could be Rita.
Oh, Rita is just a super rich.
Yeah.
So maybe she just starts falling in love with Rita, or whatever. It's okay. So leaving those paths.
Yeah, we'll leave it. Yeah, unstated for now.
The next branch that seems obvious is inside the monastery with, if we're sistering around now, Claudia is dressed as Whitney.
Mm-hmm.
This is so hard. Claudia is dressed as Whitney and runs into
Polonio.
And I think that she should find him doing something that he is embarrassed about, like writing love poetry.
Yeah.
And he's totally trying to hide it. And she's like, oh, no.
Yeah. Perfect. And yeah, what's their dynamic in this scene? Is she like telling him like, oh, like embrace the like freer like parts of yourself, or what?
It's hard because her philosophy is not just get married, right?
Yeah, it's not, but not for herself at least. I mean, she's just pleasure seeking, it seems.
So what kind of advice would she give to someone who is really in love? Would she be in favor of that, or would she? Because she herself has kind of said that she's not going to fall in love or get married or.
Yeah, my hit. I don't know what you're thinking, John. My hit is that in general, if someone is like, oh, I want to do this thing, or just the tension we have here is like, he wants to do this thing. He like kind of wants to be with her, but due to like the monkly duties cannot, and that she is very anti like rules and pro like pleasure. So she will be like, pursue that which your heart desires.
Maybe she says, why not both? Of like, rather than wed her, why not be both a monk and see her?
Yeah,
and have both of these things at once. Don't feel guilty about it. It's fine. She can make some fake monkly arguments about it, and
I really like that because that gets Polonio to show up with Cassandra in front of Whitney at some point in the show.
Yeah,
like it's like you said, we can be in love and live in the monastery together. Which I think is fun.
So he's now all ready to seduce Cassandra, but Cassandra's not dressed as herself. Oh, and here's the thing where, again, Cassandra had to take off her clothes to don his clothes, and it's like, where are Cassandra's clothes and who winds up putting them on? And
oh, wow.
Or that's a way that I think, this is great, like you're peering into people's mind. One of the ways that I think about Shakespeare is every time someone takes off a set of clothes, that those clothes are available to be put on. And like, I don't know how to justify it, but like Scrimbo feels like a funny person to put on those clothing. Or the captain of the People's Guard.
Yeah.
Scrimbo gets mobbed by angry supplicants.
Oh, the People's Guard. Oh yeah, and then has to hide in the dress.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, like Scrimbo, you curmudgeon, you never gave us anything.
Let's clarify. There were two hits there: supplicants or the People's Guard. So the supplicants being the people from the beginning who wanted stuff but were refused.
Already have beef with him is my hit there. Yeah.
I kind of like that because it feels B-plotty, and it keeps it separate from the main stuff.
But also it means that Scrimbo, who's the other legit monk, is going to interact with Polonio. Polonio is going to say, I've got it all figured out. You can move in with me in the monastery. And Scrimbo, without revealing that he is not Cassandra, needs to try and talk Polonio down so we can get his downbeat too.
Yeah.
Like,
It's
not going to work.
It metaphorically fits as well because he's the rejecting gatekeeper. So now she's been like share your love with me, and he's been rrejecting her this whole time. And now he's gonna come forward and be like, please, let's just. And he's like, nope, this gate is closed to thee.
Yes.
Okay, that's awesome. But we can't water that just yet. So he puts on the dress.
We haven't.
He puts on the dress, and maybe all of those beggars get into the monastery. and are like
Sure.
rioting just for whatever reason because he's no longer at the gate.
Yeah, let's have that element.
That gets the city guard into the monastery later if we need them.
And it makes Cassandra's plan be like her seeming to think that her plan is in effect. Oh, the reason they get in is because she lets them all in through the gate. So then they're in to beat him up. He puts on her dress. Boom. Okay, we're so live. We're so live. So that stuff is all going on in the monastery. Back out of the monastery, this I think is when we see her reattend the ball in like a very orderly way.
So we just have Whitney and Rita in this scene. Whitney disguised as Claudia.
Yes, Whitney disguised as Claudia, and I think that she's interacting with a lot of random characters at a ball who are also impressed by how pious she is and how rejecting of it is. And maybe at this point interacts with the Duke or just interacts with, or maybe Rita starts to fall in love with her. Which one, Duke or Rita?
I think Rita really likes the mature version of her best friend now.
Yeah.
And is starting to fall for her. Yeah. Because she's been very supportive for a long time. Yeah. I think it works.
She's finally, listening. I have a flag, which is how are we playing the logic of Rita and Whitney like hanging out together while Rita thinks that Whitney is Claudia? Like, are we just still like playing in the conversational game where Rita is saying things, thinking that it's Claudia, and Whitney is like taking them in the wrong way, or are we going to address that?
I think it's a combination of taking them in the wrong way and not using the name.
Yeah. Okay.
I also think Whitney is like full, this swings over kind of to like YOLO mode, maybe. Like, or you have this weird thing where like Claudia was like too wild and Whitney was like too tame. We've like jarred Whitney to a point where she's willing to be a little bit more wild. And Rita sees that and she's like, oh my God, Claudia got a little more tame. And like, this is perfect. And Whitney's like, I'm going to drink for like the first and last time in my life. And Rita's like, oh my God, look at her. She's so composed.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. That was what I was picturing. Like why Whitney is at a ball at all. It's like, yeah.
Yeah, well, we can have so many fun little parallels because we had that first scene where she embarrassed herself with the dance move, and she can go up to the bar and like maybe in the first scene she ordered like a clearly like vile like super alcoholic drink, and she comes up all like brave and bold and is like, I would like one ale, and that's the game that we play there.
Okay, so we're getting towards the end of the fun zone, I feel like.
Yeah.
We just had this party scene. There's a giant unwatered branch of seeing Scrimbo and Felonio together, but I'm not sure if that is the next branch. The other people in the monastery are Cassandra and Claudia. And they've already interacted with each other at the gate.
Mm-hmm. And Cassandra is still dressed as Felonio, I believe.
Yeah, I think we have to go to the big unwatered branch because I don't think any of the other four combinations make sense.
Well, Claudia, we also have all the beggar people that just got let into the monastery. They could pull up on Claudia. And she could be like, of course, you can have whatever you want in here. And she opens the door and it's empty and it's just nothing. Like the stores are gone. There's just no food left. There's no, or not. We don't need to open the door. Maybe there is stuff behind the door, but like, yeah.
But putting the people could get into even worse.
Yeah.
Okay, but now we get to have the one of the funnest scenes of the fun zone, which is this open thy gate, close thy gate, whatever metaphor.
Yeah, we can have like it's improv, so people need to understand what's happening. So I think maybe the scene could start with I don't know where it starts actually, but when they first see each other, we can have asides from at least an aside from Scrimblow, but maybe an aside from both of like Felonio being like, oh wow, like my lover, this is exactly who I wanted to see right now. I am ready to confess my feelings. And Scrimblow like, oh, my kind comrade from the monastery to allow Felonio to come up and maybe grab his hands without it being like without them having to like break it up yet.
Yeah, and it's possible also that Scrimblow is for some reason unable to give wanting to learn this information to get Felonio in trouble, or B, like somehow the People's Guard can still see him through the window or something like that.
What? So he's
wait, we kind of yeah. Is it People's Guard or is it like the?
Sorry, not People's Guard. The rioters.
The humble
the
masses.
rioters.
Yeah, the rioters.
The people, not the people. Some people.
Yeah, and what if the people saw Scrimblow as the concept that he like wants to pretend to be Cassandra just to evade capture?
Yeah, so he's trying to pretend to be her still to evade capture, and has to come up with all these reasons why you should be pious and keep the gate closed.
Yeah.
And now this honestly feels like Act 3 is done.
Yeah.
There might be some more of this, but our main agenda should be getting all of the people to the same location. It seems obvious to me that location should be the monastery.
Yeah.
You can probably get married there, is my guess already.
Mm-hmm. And I'll make two flags. One, which is maybe a question. Is Felonio coming out of this last scene like super heartbroken, or that's how I was picturing the emotionality of it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and then the other thing is just it's not as beautiful when you flag it, but just a title flag, right?
2 monks and a sword.
And a sword.
Oh man,
that's the captain of the guard. I think has to have a sword.
Oh my god! Yeah, it's over. All right.
Okay, but someone in the cast needs to be thinking about title flags.
Yeah,
because I
forgot. Yeah,
I had forgotten. I had forgotten as well.
Cool. Well, the People's Guard is still out and about right now, right? We haven't specified where they are. Just to say that could be a pretty easy force to get Rita and Claudia to
Rita and Whitney.
Or Rita and Whitney disguised as Claudia, assailed and arrested by the People's Guard at the ball or just in the town more generally, and get brought to the monastery.
Because the riot.
Yeah.
So I think they should be captured, and then, sir, there's a riot at the monastery. You have to come help.
I
just caught these people. It's like, well, you could let us go. And it's like, no, you're coming with me.
Yeah, totally.
Okay, so they're back into the monastery to stop the riot, but being taken there in shackles. Maybe shackled together.
Yeah,
that's cute.
Just because then we're back in the rope land, but with a shorter rope.
Yeah.
They would approach the gate, which still has Cassandra there.
Yeah, Cassandra hasn't really done much in a while, right? She had that first gate scene. But yeah, I guess Cassandra will still be there at the gate then. Yeah. I don't know if it's what happens next, but I think we do want just like a Felonio depressed scene.
Oh yeah.
Okay,
no, big
perfect.
monologue. Yep.
Yeah.
And this is the moment of doubt. This is the lowest moment, which is kind of takes place in Act 4, end of Act 3.
Yeah.
So they're getting arrested, heading back over there, and then big low moment. And maybe deciding to swear his oath.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So feeling rebuffed. So goes to Claudia to say, I'm joining the monkly order. My love doesn't love me. And Claudia is ready to. Oh, but Claudia is trying to delay the swearing ritual because she doesn't know how to do it.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, the swearing ritual. Okay, that's a good event. That can be our event that gets everybody together.
I think it would be funny if returning together, the head of the People's Guard deciding to leave them with the gatekeeper, who is Cassandra, and Whitney being like, "Oh, Philomena, your advice. I now say that you should follow your love," and him being like, "Oh, I didn't realize like that he loved me in that way." Or like, I mean, obviously she did kind of realize, but like giving her some sort of advice as him.
Oh, I see what you're saying. So yeah, Whitney, talks to Cassandra dressed as Felonio, and it's one of these moments where Cassandra like is receiving the advice that's being given to Felonio, but that makes her have like a realization of heart about how she feels about it. But she's like always loved Felonio, right? Like that never stopped. It was just Scrimblow dressed as her
But she was going to trick him into failing the monastery. So I think understanding how important the monastery is to him.
I see. Yeah.
Well, also like just realizing that both of these things are, and that he was probably going to choose her over the monastery without her plan.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, wait. Let's just do a brief summary to make sure we're all on the same page about where everyone is, and then we'll wrap. We're so close. We're so close.
We're so close.
Okay.
So the Whitney and Rita just got brought to the monastery by the People's Guard, and I think that while this conversation should happen, probably Whitney and Rita should head into the monastery before the end of that scene that we just talked about.
Yes. So those three are coming in towards the monastery. The People's Guard is ahead of them, so would arrive first to any sort of big thing.
Yeah.
Scrimbo, we don't really know, is can kind of enter at any point, but it's still dressed as Cassandra. In the heart of the monastery.
If we're cleaning up, can we just have Scrimbo, like, if Scrimbo has said the words like, I'm the old guy and I figured it all out, can you just like take the clothes off?
Yeah, that's totally. So it could be dressed whichever way serves the plot better.
Yep.
In the heart of the monastery is the real Felonio. Yes, I did it.
Yes, who's ready to swear his oath.
And all of the riotous people potentially ready to burst through, although they now have gotten some of the things from the storeroom.
Yeah, and Claudia is swearing in Felonio in there.
The oath is about to be sworn, and something needs to interrupt it. And I think that is the People's Guard.
What line do the People's Guard enter with, John?
They're looking for rioters.
Yeah, and they just left her at the gate. They just left Whitney at the gate, and Claudia is now here.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I don't know, like, guardsman walks in. What do mine eyes see? Two monks and but one sword. Where do I point it? Deeper into the monastery or back towards the gate? And then we have two monks and one sword. And you can just turn the lights out and end the show. No, I don't know. The People's Guard apprehends Claudia
a second time.
Yes.
Yeah,
you slippery monk, get back here.
Okay, and then I think the next people to enter, like, at a run is Claudia dressed as like having taken off those clothes, redressed as Claudia, Cassandra.
Whitney
as Cassandra.
Oh, Cassandra. Okay.
Running back to say, like, wait, I love you, having just gotten this advice with Whitney.
Yeah, and how does Felonio take that? Is he just gonna, poker face it for now, or is he gonna have an immediate reaction?
I think he's torn until Scrimbo arrives in the round. I think he's like, you ever changing person. How could you do this? And she's like, what do you mean ever changing? I've always loved you.
Yeah.
So that's confusion. And then in runs Whitney, like close at heels. And then there's this line that John was just talking about. Like,
two monks, yeah. Beloved Claudia. Do mine eyes see double?
And maybe at that moment it's explained that level of the plot.
Yeah, just who everybody is at a literal sense.
And then Scrimbo comes running in the dress, being like, rioters. And that's when, and then that plot is revealed.
Yeah.
And because of that, those two are like, oh, we do love each other and we want to get married.
Okay, yeah. So now Felonio and okay, yeah. Let's do the final kind of reach, which is how are we settling the People's Guard's beef with Claudia? And part of me too thinks that they can, because this whole People's Guard complaint is like a relatively, it doesn't operate on too many rules, where they could see that Claudia is now acting as a monk, and maybe she is saying some like fake monk words as they enter, and they're impressed by this and say, wow, she really has turned a new leaf.
Wait, it's gonna switch who's the monk. Because Whitney is gonna decide to leave the order to get married, and Claudia is gonna enter the order.
And in the order,
to
you
assuage her
immunity.
crimes.
Yeah.
In order to gain her immunity.
Yeah.
So she's
okay.
So that's gonna clear her. That's gonna clear her debt somehow.
Yeah.
Love. She doesn't have a love set up for her.
Yeah, you've been sent to the monkhood.
Okay. So end of the show, she decides to take over the monastery and be more giving with money that she's getting from her Rita and Whitney. Rita and Whitney are now married and rich, and they're going to give a lot of money to the monastery.
And
Scrimbo can now give. Oh
no, you go.
Well, Scrimbo now works for a very rich monastery, and he can start giving food to the rioters, and they stop rioting. They get food.
Yeah.
The general economic condition of the town also improves.
I'm sure we all know this had to happen, but I'll just flag that we do need like a beautiful little beat about this is the first time now that Whitney and Claudia are in the same room, is in this final scene.
Oh, true.
Yes, my sister, I'm dying.
And then that gets resolved by
I'm telling you, there's a super old monk and he crawls out of his little lair and he's like, no, that was for me. It was my letter. I meant to pass away.
Let's rip the Johnism, honestly, because that is in the improv sense, like literally just the moment of we need to figure out how this happens, and the person who came in with a solution was John. So it is this raucous end scene. So I don't think it really matters that this old monk doesn't play a big role in anything else.
Also, offer you don't need to justify. I don't know. I feel like you could just like, oh, but I'm dying. No, you're not. Or she just forgets about it. Like, I think if you're running the show, it's hard to say what's better. Like the old gremlin crawls out of the cave, or you just ignore it.
Yeah,
I'm partial to the gremlin making a late appearance.
Let's
putting everything else on hold for like a 4-line monologue.
Yeah, I vote for the gremlin. I know I hear a groan, Hal, but I vote for it.
I vote for the gremlin too. But I think what's important is that this sounded like chaos, but we have all the people run in, and then the final scene is Claudia, who is the raucous monk, is now the pious monk, and she is overseeing the marriages of her sister Whitney to Rita and of Philo to
Cassandra.
Yeah, to Philo to Cassandra.
Yeah.
And so there are 2 marriages going on between the 4 main couples. There's 1 extra person overseeing it. The monks have swapped places. The captain of the guard is there, and so is the gatekeeper. And those were both B plot characters.
Yeah. Wow.
Wedding.
Wow.
That was awesome.
Wow.
Did you see all those Tenukis playing away to the most important?
Oh, we did some Tenukis for sure. So we are getting relatively up there on time. So yeah, I think we should move into the final stages of this episode. That was such a fun run. That was beautiful. I had a lot of fun thinking about what would happen next. And in this format, like I keep on saying, it's so wonderful to get everybody's thoughts, because you have to communicate these things to one another, just like with your eyes and like your improv when you're actually doing it on the stage. But peering through that veil is beautiful.
But we have a question that we always ask any guest who comes on the show. Yeah, no matter how gracious or much we love them and how much we want to thank them and be respectful of their time, we always ask them this question. And Julian, what is that?
John, what do you want a pub? Be this of yourself, be this of something that you just enjoy and want us to know about. It's your soapbox. Get up on there and say what you got to say.
Yeah, I was thinking, like, this only just came to me now somehow, but I have to pub the band and the EP Cup Cup. That's
Cup.
CUP. They're a small, I think they're Bay Area based. I don't really know what genre they inhabit, but they live at the intersection of, good vibes and beautiful music. They have a 4-song EP out, the self-titled Cup Cup EP. And I hear that some more projects are in the works. So go check out Cup Cup.
I'm just searching like Cup Cup EP and I'm not finding it. Are there some more keywords that are
so on Spotify you could do lowercase CUP with no space, and that should get you what you want. There is a space. That's the problem.
Cool. Found
CUP
it.
space CUP.
All right.
Found
Well,
the
they
Cup
now
Cup.
will have 6 more listeners than they had before.
Let's go.
And that means that all things are right in the world. We've all gotten married to the person we're supposed to. And this has been Muprov.
Musings. Okay, so my sign off is that this week I have been really into freaking jamming. I'm getting pretty into music. So we got these little music practice rooms in the basement of my building, and probably like 3 or 4 times over the past week I've gone in there for like 4 or so hours and just been jamming. So I have my ukulele that I've been jamming on, but yesterday I using GarageBand and like, digital instruments, I made all of the instrumentation for a song that I'm writing right now. And it's been super fun. I realized that like just learning about stuff like chord progressions or whatever on ukulele means that I can just kind of directly apply a lot of that to writing down these chord progressions for like the instrumentation for the song I have is mostly in piano.
Yeah, I've been doing literally the exact same thing this week. I also have probably logged 12 hours of instrument practice, which is funny because neither Julian and I are all musically like able.
Yeah.
I am so like ADHD that I am currently learning drums, guitar, and piano at the same time. And I'm very bad at all of them. But like yesterday I did an hour of practice on drums and maybe an hour of practice on piano and 30 minutes on guitar or something like that.
Well, why do we all have the bug? Why do we have the music bug?
For me, it comes down to my New Year's resolutions, and I think for you, it comes down to that too.
Yeah, sure.
So I think that both of us are trying things out. But I totally, it's all starting to click for me just in terms of, I think combining multiple instruments at once and sort of getting how chord progressions work and how those relate in terms of scale degrees and how like having rhythm improve from practicing the drums has been huge for me. I don't know if that is anything.
Yeah, no, rhythm is one of the hard parts for me. Like before yesterday, I've mostly just been trying to like learn these 2 songs on ukulele. And one of the hard parts is just like getting the rhythm down.
Well, that's what I had to sign off. I wanted to ask John. John has left the call about how to do drums because John is a drummer.
Yeah.
So he could have given us our rhythm wisdom, but
Rhythm wisdom.
You'll have to get your rhythm wisdom from Sebastian.
Ooh, Sebastian.
Wait. But have you had any breakthroughs or figured out anything in terms of that could be applicable to stuff that I do?
I mean, I was just learning like the parts of a song yesterday and putting it all together of just like melody, harmony, bass line, like rhythm, that kind of concept. And for a lot of it, I'm pretty much doing everything in the key of C. And I just look up different chord progressions and I listen to them.
So you are coming up with a chord progression having that lead into your melody rather than coming up with a melody and figuring out like, okay, on at this moment, this note is playing, and what's the chord that would correspond?
Yeah, well, it's kind of it's a little bit of a Frankenstein, where this song that I'm working on, I originally improvised it over a backing track I found on YouTube, revised that into a written song, and then it existed over that backing track on YouTube. So where my singing is the melody, but then I was like, you know what, I just want my own song now. And so using the same tempo, I just found some new chords based on what I thought would sound good.
Awesome. But they're independent. You found a chord progression that's independent of the melody that you're singing?
Independent in the sense of, like, I didn't derive it in a very systematic way, but I just kind of tried some things until I found one that I thought worked well with it.
Do you know what notes are being sung?
No, I don't. I haven't transcribed my melody.
Julian, my homework to you is to try to sound out what your melody is on the piano. And then figure out what note is being played at the different moments that your chord changes happen, and see if that can somehow correspond to it.
Yeah. That's a great homework for me.
Yeah, it's so funny because Julian and I both know almost nothing about music.
Yeah, but it's so fun because it's one of the flavors of life.
I remember way back when.
Yeah, I'm so bad at but it's fine. I think we'll both become better musical improvisers for it.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Both of us got so much better over the course of college in terms of actually changing the note that we were singing. And it's cool to have that mindset of oh no, I'm gonna just. I think a lot of people treat it like something that you either have or you don't have.
Yeah. Like, oh, I'm not a math person. Something like that.
It's like, oh no, I'm not a math person, but that doesn't mean that if I spent 2 hours a day trying to learn math for the next year that I wouldn't be better at math than I currently am.
Yeah.